Hi everybody, it's Mike Newton down here at Leerham Golf Academy. In this video here we're going to look at the driver and some secrets for you to make your driving more consistent. Stay tuned, we're going to help you out. Okay, so first aspect we're going to really look at is the setup, and I think the setup with the driver is the real key part of this, or very good starting point, and where I think many golfers I find will sort of do incorrectly, start in the wrong position and really make it difficult to get the strike on the golf club and obviously get the direction control with the driver. So what do we mean by setup and what do we do differently here, maybe as opposed to the iron shots here? So obviously ball position is the first thing, and we definitely want to be getting the ball position in that inside that front lead foot. So for right-handed golf, that'll be inside your left foot, so ball position further forward. That's going to help us do a number of things, mainly to try and hit a little bit more on the way up, okay, which is a good aspect in terms of a driver, help you get that strike and also get that launch and control a little bit of spin. So hitting on the way up, and also it will give you a little bit longer for the club face to rotate and square up. So many golfers will struggle to square the club face up with driver, and obviously resulting in that slice or that push shot off to the right of target. So having the ball a little bit further forward just gives you that split second longer for the club face to rotate round and try and square up to your target. The other aspect to really look at in the setup is your posture of your body, and I would like to see a lot of golfers just have that little bit of spine tilt in that upper body. Okay, so this basically just allows them to let this right arm, right shoulder just drop slightly here, just puts that little spine tilt in, which helps us again to hit that angle of attack. So think of it a little bit as we get into that position. Your right hand is naturally lower than your left hand. Again, this is for a right-handed golfer. Switch this round for any left-handers out there. Right hand slightly lower there, and just going to feel this little bit of tilt in that upper body. So it's nothing to do with your lower body, so it's not a lean into that trail leg, it's more of that little spine tilt there. That allows the shoulders to be a little bit more in this angle, which should relate more to attack angle being slightly on the way up. And again, it's about staying a little bit more behind the golf ball, allowing you to sort of release it and get that club face squaring up. Okay, so we've talked about setup there, we've got ourselves in a strong position. What other aspects are we going to look at? So the second main one for me is the strike. Now strike makes a huge difference as to what the ball's going to do through its flight. And obviously its curvature as well. So most of us will know a driver has a roll and a bulge on there. That's there for a reason. So if we're hitting the ball maybe more off the toe of the golf club, that will tend to create more of a right to left ball flight. If we hit it off the heel of the golf club, that will do the opposite and tend to create more of a left to right sort of ball flight. Okay, so strike is a really big thing to sort of know for you as a golfer where you strike it on that club face and being aware of your strike. And I think, again, I find so many golfers maybe just don't know where they're hitting it on the club face. So knowing where you strike it is absolutely key, because then you can do something about it and try and sort of move that strike pattern obviously more towards the centre of the club face. Centre strikes, you'll get so much more control of spin and shot direction from the centre strike than obviously heel or toe strikes. So how do we track where we strike on the golf club? There's a number of things we can do. Sometimes you can get some like face tape. Okay, so sometimes custom fitters may have face tape. It's getting a little bit rarer nowadays because obviously as launch monitors are out here now which measure strike, we don't have to actually put anything on the face, which obviously leaves a mark on there when you strike it. Or another popular option is some foot spray. You can just sort of spray that, a little film of spray on there. It leaves a little sort of like a cloudy sort of film there, and as you strike it, it will give you a mark there of where the ball's contacting on the club face. I've obviously got GC2 HMT here, so this is going to measure my strike. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to hit a couple of shots. I'm going to try and hit one out of the toe, one out of the heel, and we're just going to look at some numbers here, maybe see as to what actually happens to this golf ball through its flight, and maybe what it does to the side spin as well. So first of all, I'm going to try and hit a toe strike here as best I can. Okay. Yeah, so that felt a little bit toe. It was a little bit low in the face as well. So that's turned a little bit up that left-hand side, a little bit of a draw on there. So many of you will look at that and think, well, that's a great, I'd love to have a draw there. But let's have a look at those numbers in a little bit more detail. Okay, so let's look at that data screen here. So you can see my path there was working 3 from the inside, which is typically a number for me. Attack angle 2 degrees on the way up, so I've obviously got that ball position right. My little bit of spine tilt there, but obviously my path is helping me hit a little bit up also. Club face in relation to target was 2.1 degrees open, but in relation to my path was 1.2 close. So we know that face slightly close to a path is always going to try and create a slight right to left ball flight. Now, look at the strike there. It was pretty bad strike there, to be honest. You can see I hit that really low toe. Got the toe, but I cut it very sort of low in the club face. So to be honest, if I'd hit that higher up the club face in the same toe section, so maybe somewhere up here, that would have probably turned over more aggressively right to left. The fact that I caught it a little bit low in the face has probably helped me to control that a little bit more in relation to my sort of numbers there. So ultimately, if I had that face slightly close to a path, hit that ball higher up in the club face off that toe, that would have probably overdrawn and maybe start hooking a little bit more aggressively to the left. Okay, so there's my shot with the off the toe, albeit a little bit low in the club face there. And so now I'm going to try and hit one off the heel of the club, and we'll see how that maybe changes numbers and also that ball flight. Yeah, okay, so that felt quite heel there. Straight away we've seen that ball flight. Just move a little bit up that right hand side, a little bit more fade on that. So that run out at 278, but let's go look at those numbers for that heel strike. Okay, so here's the heel one now, albeit I didn't get it massive heel, but it's slightly low heel on the strike pattern there. So attack was still up by 0.1 up. Path was a little bit square there, to be fair, and the face was a little bit open. So that combination is going to create a little bit of a fade. But then when I coupled that with that slight heel strike, that has actually increased my cut spin to the right. My miss has actually been bigger to the right there, and because of the strike alone. So yes, we know path and face relationship is really important to helping control curvature, but also strike on top. So in this particular instance, I've left the face open to my path. We know that's going to fade, but then I haven't helped things because then I've missed my strike in the heel. Now, for me to save that particular club delivery and face relationship, I would need to strike that ball more off the toe of the club. Okay, try and sort of gear that and try and save my face to path relationship. Okay, so we can see their strike makes a big difference, and I haven't touched on spin here, but also it does affect spin massively, which is then distance also. So knowing where you strike at the face definitely is the first port of call I would sort of want you guys to maybe go and test. So I'd say the foot spray there, or even that tape to go and track that strike and try and get that strike more centre. This is now going to really move me on into the last aspect I want to talk about, which is then your face to path that we've just sort of touched a little bit on there. So we've got set up, we've got strike, we're now going to look at a control of that face to path relationship. So face to path, with the most common shape that I see a lot of golfers play is the slice. We're going to talk a little bit about that and how that actually sort of happens. So if I stand this way to you, we know that maybe a slice would come from a position where, as we start the downswing, the hands and arms would make more of an outward position. So the club comes from a high to low sort of movement through impact, and obviously that is swinging left, out to in. The club face is then generally open to that path, and there is your big heavy fade or even your slice. So for those guys who are slicing out there, we've maybe got to try and shift that path and get that a little bit nearer to that club face. We can cut the two down between the path and the face and get those difference, or the angle difference there, as near to zero as possible. We're going to get some straighter golf shots. So for those guys who maybe are hitting that sort of from that high to low sort of movement, you want to basically try and flip it. So as a drill, you want to try and get the feel of being more sort of from low to then high coming through. So you can appreciate that's going to create a little bit more of an in to out path possibly, but ultimately as a feeling it's going to try and cut down that out to in path, and it's also going to allow you to hit a little bit more up on it. But a great way to think of this is a little bit like a tennis player. You know, if a tennis player is playing that sort of drop cut shot, it will be there and across the ball, so it would be coming from that high across the back of the ball left, which gives you that very sort of low ball speed, spinny sort of first shot, where if you're playing that forehand down the line, it's going to be more from a low to high sort of movement coming through, and that helps you to release the racket, closing the club face, to obviously try and limit the slice or even turn that into a draw. Okay, so let's give that one a go here. So again, I'm going to hit 2 shots here. I'm going to hit the out to win. Okay, and then we're going to switch that into an in to out and just see how that, again, that might just affect the ball flight. But also going to look at strike and see, it depends on my strike, so I've got to deliver that and try and get a strike here, but see if that strike either helps me or is a disadvantage to me. Okay, so I'm going to hit my, well, I'm going to try and hit a slice first, so I'm going to feel like I come over from the top of the swing to start it, from that high to low sort of swing path here, which should create a slice. Yeah, and there, surely enough, is that low left to right ball flight, missing quite a long way to the right of the target. Okay, so let's look at those numbers there. So clearly we can see there my out to win path by 3.6, so swing left of target 3.6. Club face was delivered pretty square to target, but obviously with my path going left, my difference is between my face and path is 3.3 open. We know that's going to create a left to right sort of ball flight. Now, as my path has moved more left, my club's come from that high to low position, so there you can see my attack angle has changed. It is now 2.1 down. Because I've hit down and swung left, it's caused my strike to be very low in the club face there, so I've missed my strike. It was quite central, but it was very low, so that's where that ball came out quite low on its launch, stayed quite low, and the spin would have climbed a little bit on that. Yeah, and sure enough, there's my spin. So that combination of swinging left, hitting down, strike very low in the club face, my spin has just rocketed it up to 4,000 there. See, that's really dropping off. Look at my carry at 232 and only running out 252. Okay, so I'm now going to try and switch that, as I mentioned before. So if you imagine I've got a tennis racket in my hand here, I'm going to come from a low to a high sort of movement coming through the golf ball and let that club sort of release. You see the rotation is a lot freer there because the club's swinging more sort of out in front of me. So I'm going to try and take that sort of thought into this particular shot here, trying to feel coming from that low to high sort of feel. Okay, there's a little soft draw. Caught that a bit low in the face there, didn't quite get the strike as good as I wanted to. So it's dropping off a little bit of distance, but that definitely moved a little bit sort of right to left through the air. So let's look at those numbers. Okay, so let's look at those numbers there. So you can see my strike wasn't great, was low in the face, touch toe there, but path there you can see is switched from 3.5 into out now, so that's swinging more to the right of target, and because that's come from more low from the inside to the high position, you can see my attack has now flipped to 2.4 up. So it was 2.1 down to 2.4 up. That's 4-degree difference of change there, with a little bit of a swing thought of going from sort of high to low to more low to high. Club face was delivered at 2.8 open to target, okay, but it did draw because the face was slightly closed to the path. And again, talking a little bit about strike, I think that little toe strike there has just helped me to create a little bit more draw than maybe the numbers are suggesting. So I would probably argue that if I struck that really quite central with that face only just close to my path, I reckon I'd hit more of a pushy sort of ball flight. Very straight, but more of a push. Okay guys, so there's a few little secrets there just to try and help you get some consistency in your drives, and maybe just try and make you guys a little bit more aware of how to change what you're doing. So first of all is set up, getting the right ball position, getting that sort of stance nice and solid, a little bit of spine tilt there in the setup position, and then we're going to work into the actual strike. You know, maybe use your spray there or a tape and sort of track your strike, see where you're hitting it. You'll probably see a little bit of a pattern there. Try and work on that strike, and then depending on your shape there, so I've talked about a sort of a slice there, trying to turn that into a draw is a little bit more from that high to low feel to more to that low to high feel. And obviously if you're all the opposite and you hook the golf ball, just try and do the absolute opposite there. So if you're a hooker of the golf ball, you'll be very sort of low to high with a shut club face. So try and then swing high to low. Just basically flip what I've just sort of gone through there. Okay guys, Let me know your thoughts on those little tips there. Hopefully that will help you out with the driver. Obviously it's so satisfying to get that driver out there as far as you can, but hitting fairways is equally as important with the big stick. So let me know your thoughts on that. Let me know if you've had any success with that. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you haven't already subscribed, please do hit that subscribe button, hit the bell icon to get notifications of any future videos, and hopefully we'll catch up with you all very soon.